guys, welcome back to Making Everyday Magic. My name is Shanna. If you are new here, we are a homeschooling family of 4. We focus on secular curriculum choices. We have just wrapped our 5th year of homeschooling, and it is the summer before our 6th year of homeschooling. I wanted to come here today and share with you homeschool lessons that we can learn from public school. Guys, before we go any further, please scroll down, hit that big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. As always, it is super appreciated. We really love getting feedback from you, so you can head on down to the comments or go find us over on Instagram at Making Everyday Magic. We, as homeschoolers, give public school a lot of grief. We really do. We can really be judgy and kind of rude about our public school counterparts, but I thought it was really important to come and to remind you that they are a absolutely crucial part of society. Not everybody has the option to homeschool their children like we do. Not everybody has the means to homeschool their children like we do. And it is genuinely a privilege that is not afforded to many, genuinely. And it is important, I think, to recognize that public schools are very important, that they serve a very important place in our society, and that mass education has learned a lot of things along the way. And it is important to take gems. I've told you before, there are many amazing homeschool moms here on YouTube that are not secular. There are many places that you can take tidbits of wisdom, that you can take skills, that you can take pointers from. And that is absolutely true when it comes to public school because, well, honestly, they've done this a lot longer than any of us have. So it is worth noting that there is a lot of value that comes out of that. And I don't want anybody ever thinking that I don't fully agree with that. It may not be the right decision for me, for my children, because I'm in a place for it to not be, but that doesn't mean it's not the right choice for a lot of people. Everyone that I know and love, with the exception of a rare few, send their children to a brick and mortar, a public school or private school, and that works for them. And that's wonderful. And I celebrate them. And I celebrate you if that's your choice now, in the past, or in the future. It is just currently not our choice for us, but that does not mean that that is any kind of commentary on your choices for you or someone else's choices for them. And like I said, it is important to note that we can get pearls of wisdom from anywhere, including public school. So I thought it would just be really fun to run down some of the things that you can absolutely learn from public school to apply to your homeschool. These are not in any particular order, except the last one is my absolute favorite, works every time. Okay, so I have a list. Thanks. Okay, so one of the things that public school does that works well is that they have a structure and a routine. So even when my kids were in like Mother's Day out, they had a schedule on the wall that was like, we do this, and then we do this, and then we do this. And they also, as public schools, they have a structure. Like this is what time we come in. This is what time we start. This is the expectation of what you will wear. So having a guide, a structure, a routine is really helpful in an educational setting of any kind. I am not saying that you need to do that because as homeschoolers, we have that freedom. But if the freedom is the plan, you're building the structure into your freedom, if that makes I hope that comes across well. It's not like we're just getting up every day and flying by the seat of our pants. It is intentionally not structured and therefore is a structure. And so I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say, I'm saying structure and routine are very beneficial to any kind of education. And whether it is intentionally not as structured or intentionally less routine, it still is, that is your structure and routine. I hope that makes sense. Okay. With that comes an expectation of what you wear, like your uniform, right? Like your uniform for your job of learning means that every day can't be pajama day. We are homeschoolers, so some days can be pajama day, but having an expectation that we get up and we get dressed and then we start our day works really well for us. I think it works really well for, kids in general because they really do appreciate a certain level of structure. And then when you do have pajama day, once a week, once a month, whatever it is, it's a special day. And with that comes, it is important. One of the lessons that public school has really taught us is that learning can be fun. Now, don't get me wrong, they do not by any means do enough of it, in my opinion, but they do field trips. They do bring in guest speakers. They do have theme days and crazy hair days and maybe pajama day. So I think it is worth noting that public schools do believe, it's not just us, we're not alone here, but public schools do agree that fun learning is still learning. So I think that's a really great public school lesson to take into our homeschool. Something else that I think is a great public school lesson to take into our homeschool is that there is a hierarchy, right? Like, I'm a student in class. I know that if I have an issue, I go to the teacher. The teacher has an issue, she goes to the principal. Like, there's a way that this works. And I have applied that, and I'm sure many of us have, in our homeschool by being that, like, I am the teacher, okay? But like, here's our math lesson. Our math lesson is done by video. So is it me? I'm saying, as the teacher, my hierarchy is like, but that person says it. That is the professional, or it's in the teacher's guide. That's the directions. That's what it wants you to do. And from there, it's like, okay, well, let's bring in dad on this, right? So I'm not saying dad's the principal. He's not in charge here. What I am saying is that there's someone else, right? Like, there's a place to tap out to, or we can Google. Google is a great thing, right? We can go somewhere else. So having a certain level of hierarchy, I think, is good and important, because it kind of takes, in my homeschool, and I've said this many times, it takes the pressure off of me, because I can be like, oh, nope, that guy said it. It wasn't, not mommy. That guy said it. So it must be true because it's in the teacher's book. Yeah. So hierarchy, I think, is a really nice tool to use. And again, I use it selectively and sometimes, just literally as a cop-out to transfer blame. It is what it is, but handy nonetheless. Something else that is a great public school lesson for homeschool, especially when you have more than one kid, is multi-use supplies, okay? So not everything we do is consumable. So whether it is keeping a set of textbooks a couple years to use with the next kid, whether it is, like scraps of paper that we can use for 5 different art supplies, or using the watercolors also in history and art, multi-use supplies. It saves everyone money and sanity, and is a really good way to maintain kind of continuity. So like, if I am now at the place where I am teaching my little one the same reading program I taught my bigger one. So like, for me, I'm an expert now. This is how teachers get so smart. They do it and do it and do it and do it, and then they're not a novice anymore. So that is brilliant. Multi-use supplies, guys. Multi-use supplies. Something else that I think is a really important, and this is where I know I'm going to get some crazy pushback here, really important lessons from public school for homeschool. I am not saying that this needs to be done all the time, but teaching your children the ability to work quietly, to sit still and work quietly. I do not believe, in any sense of the term, that this is an inherent ability that we are born with. It is not. Patience and stillness and focus, I think, genuinely are they're learned skills. So they're like a muscle that you need to practice. Teaching your children how to work quietly, working on that skill. And it's rare, we don't have to do it in homeschool. And I'm not saying that you should all the time. They should be able to move and snack and go to the potty if they need to go to the potty, or get up and walk around if that's how they learn best. But just sometimes working on those skills will serve them later in life, because they may be in a job where they need to do that, or they may have to sit and take their driver's exam. Which leads me to the next point that I know people are going to stress on. Learning how to I'm not saying teaching to tests, but learning how to take a test is an important life skill. So whether that's the SAT, whether that's the bar exam, whether it is a cosmetology license, learning how to kind of go into a little bit of a more pressured environment and learning how to perform well under that, not to mention just simple test taking, simple testing strategies, right? Like, go over it one time, see if there's anything that you know, come back and check your answers, see if there's any question that actually answers another, like the answer answers another question, things like that. Those little strategies of time management and sitting quietly and things like that. It is important to learn how to take a test, not teaching to the test, don't agree with that, but learning the strategies that go into with that kind of slightly more pressured environment. You never know when you're going to need to take a test for a job or for some other aspect of life, college or a vocation. So just learning how to do that, I think, is really important. And it is a gem that we can take away from public school. Again, I know it gets out of hand and people are going to come after me with pitchforks, but I hope that you understand what I am trying to say. Okay, guys. So that leads me to the all-time best tip that I have ever learned from public school in my homeschool. And this came to me from one of my absolute besties who is a 4th grade teacher and knows that this is tried and true and works. And I've used it on my own kids, guys. I have, and it works. So I'm going to share this gem with you. Wet paper towel. If you get a scrape, if you have an ache or pain, I'm not saying if they're like genuinely have something wrong with them, but you know how your kids do that thing where like they are not broken, but they are acting broken? You do. I know you know me. We're parents. That thing, wet paper towel. Would you like a wet paper towel? And then they would like a wet paper towel. And they put it on whatever is hurting them, and then they feel better. So, wet paper towel works. I've used this at home, in a park, walking in the down the street, in a car. Wet paper towel. Why? Because those public school teachers are crafty. They really are. Guys, I hope that you found it as helpful, entertaining, or informative. If you did, please scroll down, hit that big red subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up. As always, you can find me down in the comments or over on Instagram at Making Everyday Magic. Please share what are your public school gems that you've taken into your homeschool that help you out. What are they? I want to know. I want to know.